Thousands of people are on the move around the world seeking refuge from conflict and persecution.
Asylum seekers,
criminal
of immigration detention centres,
high security prison,
The flow of boat arrivals.
refugee deal,
Children and their families living in Australian detention centres.
to children in immigration detention,
But that children shouldn't be in detention for self-harm.
and attempted suicide. Migrants in detention is inadequate and unsafe.
I cannot move right or left. My room has turned into my grave.
Asylum seekers and refugees that come to Australia by boat are placed in detention for indefinite periods of time. Chill Out is an advocacy group that lobbies for the release of children from immigration detention. Claire Hamilton is the campaign organizer.
The time, why are children still being detained? There is that principle in the Migration Act which says that children should only be detained as a measure of last resort. Unfortunately, that provision in the Migration Act is expressed as a guiding principle, so it is really at the discretion of the Minister for Immigration as to whether children are in detention or whether the Minister allows them to live in the community.
This is Hani. In 2013, she fled Somalia and left her family and her nomadic life behind. She was detained on Christmas Island for 11 months. She was only 16 years old.
As a girl, like you're not like that much safe. If you are from 13 years old to 18, that's the time, like they said, a girl must be with their husbands or in a grave. So that's what they believe. So this is what's happening. So there's a lot of war going on, no education. As a woman, there's no good treatment, and there's also a lot of forced marriage around. I came to Australia by boat, 2013. I leave my country, Somalia, toward Kenya, Malaysia, Indonesia, then Australia, finally. I was on the ocean like for 8 days and 9 nights. The boat started sinking. Even we didn't reach Darwin, we were like middle of the international water. And then later on, when they give us the life jacket, the boat, it goes like this into the water.
Dr. Sarah Mars is a child psychiatrist. Last year, she went to Christmas Island as part of a government inquiry into offshore detention.
Children in immigration detention they don't get to have the experiences we would see as important for development. But also they're exposed to a whole lot of things that, in Australia we spend a lot of time protecting children from, like adults who are very distressed and harming themselves, violence, those kind of things. The longer individuals and families are detained, the more evidence there is of harmful effects of that detention on mental health. So the rates of depression, anxiety, and higher levels of post-traumatic stress increase. Very often children regress in their development, that is, children who had been continent at night, for example, then they start bedwetting. Children who had some language development, often their language goes back. Children who had been quite good at sharing or playing or waiting become more disturbed in their behaviour.
I see a lot of people harming themselves.
Hanging themselves.
Like harming themselves, like hanging or doing something really bad. And when you're trying to be strong and see your past and you think no, I can do this, because if I want to die, I could stay back home, because that's the place where you will die easily.
The idea of children suffering behind bars has affected some Australians more than others.
We need your help!
Grandmas Against Detention of Refugee Children formed last year.
Because I just think it's disgusting having children behind bars.
But I do not understand why normal Australians have hardened their hearts so much.
I come from a refugee family and therefore I'm pretty interested in how refugees are treated.
Gabby Judd is the founder of the group.
We're trying to sort of bring to the attention of the public so that we can change the government policy, the plight of children in detention and how deplorable it is and how it affects their mental health. So how we do that, we go on vigils, we write letters, try and get media attention.
Hani lives in Sydney now, but the memories of detention still linger.
Christmas Island, I call Christmas Island the grave cave of the world. Inside the center it looks like kind of prison somehow, because it got like this really big fence and it's locked 24/7. You can go out.
Jerry Lonan is a school counselor at Bankstown Senior College. This school is one of the few that take in former refugees.
Well, sometimes you can physically see the effects of detention on them because some of them have scars from self-harm, being in detention, like from cutting. The frustration of just feeling helpless and hopeless, and the depth of the psychic pain is very great.
Hani remembers only too well what it was like.
Every morning wake up with no hope, like, you know, it was like we were just like camels or goats, something like that, because animals they don't know like what's good for them. They only stayed whatever that humans put them. So I felt like that. I felt Christmas Island Detention Center was the same.
But some of the traumatic injury is very great, so sometimes the students have trouble with memory and intrusive thoughts of their trauma. Sometimes, panic attack, when they can be walking along the street and just go into a complete panic attack because of feeling helpless and hopeless. It
was like big thing for me, like to come out of Christmas Island while I didn't have dark was my brightest color.
After 11 months, Hani was finally released. Her new life has started.
But coming out of Christmas Island, even though I was in community detention and I didn't have the full freedom, but again I could go out, and I could do things.
Hani is now part of the Sydney community. She's making a life for herself. When she's not at school, she works at a cafe in Newtown. While Hani might be free, there are still children in detention.
By 2013, the number of children in detention stood at 1,992. That is children detained across all of the Australian-run immigration detention centres. Now, as of the 31st of July 2015, there are just over 200 children in detention. So this is clearly a significant improvement. However, we're very concerned that over recent months, the number of children is almost no longer being reduced. The government committed at the end of 2014 to releasing all children from detention and largely did that. But 200 children in detention is 200 too many.
Meanwhile, the grandmas keep up the fight to get children out of detention.
It's heartbreaking, because I've got grandchildren, I've raised children, I've got grandchildren, and the life that they have is just, you just cannot compare it. They've got freedom, and their basic human rights as children is recognised, and they have great lives. And all children should have that. Why should my kids and my grandchildren have that freedom and not these kids who've done nothing wrong? And in the most part, their parents are recognised eventually as being genuine refugees.
Tell my children about
and then we do get the odd person that, is very sort of scathing about what we're doing and say they should all be locked up.
Hani's job is her pathway into Australian culture. She's happy to be working and learning new skills.
One chocolate, one strawberry.
The owner of the cafe is Ravi Prasad.
Honey came through the training and ended up that she made us happier rather than we made her happier, I think. And we haven't done anything for her at all. She's done everything for us. She's been like great.
She has made many friends here.
Yeah, I would just keep them even if I don't understand I wish for myself to be better than yesterday, and because whatever happened in the past is already gone. There's nothing to be worried about it, and in future I want to be someone who have a quality, who can help the needy ones and feel their pain.